Hi everybody, it's great to see you today here for Uberliciousness. I'm actually going to put my neck out there a little bit on the blog, and I want to spend probably 4 or 5, 6 episodes. I'm doing a series on homosexuality and the Bible, and as you might imagine, I have a view on that. And first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about why Christians kind of in general have this view of homosexuality. And that's because by and large we trust this document that came about a long time ago called the Bible, and it wasn't around in Jesus' day particularly. He said, "Look at me." But in the hundreds of years that followed him, a lot of letters and books and the Jewish Bible were all bung together for our benefit, and it's a real privilege that we have it. However, what happens is a lot of people today seem to think that it was written in English for modern Westerners, Europeans and Americans particularly. And actually it was written over 1600 years in 3 languages, only one of which are really spoken still today. And it's got like 40 authors, it's in a whole load of books. It's like a library. And the Old Testament particularly, and parts of the New, tell a story. They actually tell a story almost of the development of the view of God over time. And when you get to, if you actually were to read the whole of the Old Testament, which is quite a heavy read, you would come out with a very confused view of who God is and what he says. And like, for example, he seemed to tell Abraham to go and sacrifice his son, and yet in the prophets later on, he says, "I never wanted sacrifice." Well, what? Is this a contradiction? Now, this is just a different view of God at a different era and a different time. Now, a lot of people don't see that. They just see it as a flat read, that everything that's in the whole Bible is exactly preserved for us to believe it. I talked in another video about the 2 trees in the garden, that there's the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the problem for most humanity, especially in the Western world, is that most people approach the Bible, if you like, from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They try and use the Bible to work out what is good and what is evil, what is right and what is wrong. And right at the very beginning of the book, it warns against that and calls that the fall. And yet that's how most people actually approach the Bible. So therefore there are things that are said and that are written in there that people take as face value. This must be God. But for example, in the middle of the Old Testament, there's a whole series, 149 actually, because one of them's repeated, 150 songs that were written by people. Now, you know, songwriters today, they're fully inspired to write their song and they write it down. Doesn't mean that that song particularly is fact or is absolute truth. It's just how they feel about what the subject of their song is. So the psalmist did the same. They have this view of God. Sometimes David was really up there. David was one of the main writers. He was a king of Israel. And he would write loads of them. And sometimes God was awesome and amazing. Sometimes God had forgotten him and was forsaken him. Sometimes God had done all sorts, you know. But actually it was just his view at the time when he wrote the song. Does this mean this is wrong? No. Does this mean the Bible is wrong and mistaken? No. It just means it's a very human book that encapsulates the full human experience, and it's vital to us, absolutely vital to us today. And the message that's woven through from beginning to end, this sort of shedding of one tree, so in the end there's only the tree of life in the last book. That is the story of humanity, right there in pages. What an amazing, amazing thing that we have got, a resource we have to live our lives from. You get to the end of the Old Testament and Jesus pops up in the New and says, actually, you've got a very confused view of God, and it's obvious from reading your scriptures. Let me show you what God is really like. And he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, you've seen God. So God is exactly like Jesus. Hope that was helpful. Look forward to the next few. Have a great day. Bye now.